Hi everyone! I hope you're well. I hope you're having a good week. It's been really sunny this week. To be fair, I've spent a large chunk of it down in London, but I did get back to Glasgow today and it's been gorgeous weather. Hey Shona, hey Stacey, hey Linda. Glad to see you're all here. So a couple of things before I get into the crafting. So again, a reminder for all those of you who earned bonus coupons last month, this is the month to spend them in. And one of the best things to spend them on is the DSP sale, which started at the start of the month. So there is a discount off some of the designer series paper from the annual catalogue. Lots of good bargains to be had. Check out the website and see all the information there. Now, before I get to crafting, I will be perfectly honest. Last week I said that I would be doing unboxing of new stuff from the autumn winter catalogue this week, and I will not, because unfortunately my parcel arrives tomorrow. So it hasn't arrived yet. I'm gutted because there's a lot of lovely stuff that I can't wait to get my hands on, but it will mean that I'll do that unboxing. Oh, excuse me, I'll do that unboxing for you next week, not this week. But I was looking through my stamps at stuff that I hadn't used yet, and this is one of the stamp sets that I bought out of the annual catalogue, which I haven't had a chance to play with yet, so I thought we would do that together today. Hey Debbie, hey Karen, hey, we've got the whole gang in tonight. That's brilliant. So let me flip this round. I'm going to put the lights on because your feedback is you prefer it when there's lights. So let me just get this all lit up correctly. There we go. Right, so the set that I'm going to be using today is called Loveliest Tree. And you have this tree shape, as the name suggests, and then you've got some lovely fonts here. There's a happy birthday, congratulations, thank you, and a sending heartfelt sympathy. And you've got this little leaf piece as well. This set does come with matching dies. So you've got the die that cuts out the tree shape. You've also got branches and, the trunk, and then some of the leafy branch pieces. You've got a couple of little leaves, and then this piece that cuts out that leaf piece there. Hey Karen. I'm actually going to just be using the stamps today. We're going to be sticking with our notelets. So for the last few weeks I have been using notelets to craft with rather than making full-sized cards. So this one, I have a project in mind, and it's going to be using the notelets. I'm definitely going to do two. If we've got time, we'll do the third one. But actually thinking about it, we could do four. Let's wait and see how we're doing with time. So the first thing I want to do, I'm just going to get my bits and pieces ready. So my notelet measures, it's in inches, so it is 5 5.5 by 3.5. It's a really weird one. Let me just check that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 inches by 3.5. So my layer that I want to cut. So the first layer is going to be done in early espresso, and so I want this to be 3.25 by 4.75. And as before, I'm just going to cut a whole sheet worth of layers at the same time, because then I've got 5 here and ready and good to go. And I do use notelets a lot. I use the notelet layers a lot. In fact, I really should just pre-cut them and have boxes of them. I might do that, yeah. So I'm cutting my early espresso layers, and as I said, that is 3.25 inches by 4.75 inches, and you'll see that that just fits perfectly on my notelet with a little edge all the way around. So let's pop that to one side. Next, I want my white layer, my basic white, and this is going to be 3 inches by 4.5. And again, I'm just going to cut a full sheet's worth. Oh no! Can you see what I've done there? I've cut that to the wrong size. You know what? I'll use that for labels or something. I can still cut 2 out of this piece. 3 inches by 4.5, not 3.5, Emma. This is what happens when I try and rush things. I should just take my time. Try not to rush. There we go. And then that layer will fit perfectly on top of my early espresso layer, which fits perfectly on top of my notelet layer. So there we go. So I've got my notelets, I've got my layer, and I'm going to start with one of these basic white pieces. Now, before I do the stamping, because I want to stamp this lovely tree, I'm just going to check. So you can see this is a brand new stamp. I haven't used it yet. Inking it up for the first time. I'm trying to get better at using all of my stamps because I bought it because I loved it, brought it home, and now I just need to play with it. I'm gonna put on the label. I don't know if I've shown you how I do this before. So this is the tree label. I know in the past a lot of people didn't put their labels on because they didn't cling particularly well. The new cling adhesive, which Stampin' Up started using a couple of years ago, is incredibly strong. So all of those worries about, oh, I don't want to put the labels on because they won't stick to my blocks, you don't need to worry about that anymore. So you see there, I've done half of it, and now I'm going to peel off the other half. I do this so that I get it lined up the way I want it to be. It also helps with things like bubbles, because you don't want to have bubbles on the sticker, because then that's just going to affect. There we go. Right, and you see how sticky this is? That is really, really, really sticky. So it's going to stick to your clear blocks, like so. Really does stick very well. Okay. Just going to ink up a trial one. This is really a very, very detailed stamp. I'm going to just see. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stamp. Now maybe you're thinking, Emma, why have you done the whole stamp in early espresso? Because unless this is autumn or unless the tree is dead, you're not going to want a whole tree to be brown. Aha, that's where today's technique comes in. So I'm just going to check though, because I want to put this ribbon on, and I'm just trying to decide where the ribbon should be in relation to the tree. Maybe that's what I want to do. So if I stamp the tree up here, I can then have the ribbon going along the bottom. So let me ink this up. Let's go straight, roughly centered. Put it there. Okay, look at the detail on that. It's really, really beautiful. It's a stunning stamp. And I'm going to do 2 of these. Because I have an idea, but I'm going to do it with 2 separate cards. But they both start off with the same tree. Right. Clean this up. Good. And let's pull that back. With the cling, because it clings so much, it's a good idea to put it back into the stamp set rather than leave it clinging to your clear blocks, because you don't want it to you don't want it to stick forevermore. Okay, so what we're going to do this tree is eventually going to layer on here. I'm going to have this along the bottom. I might have it spotty side up. I might have it plain side up. You guys have a think about that in the comments. Which do you think looks best? But before we put any layering on or do anything with the ribbon, we need to make this tree look a bit more interesting. So, I saw this technique years ago. I haven't tried it for ages, but I'm going to give it a go just now. So I have got some of my offcuts of cards. So we've got some garden green. We've got, I think this is actually lemon lime twist. It is a very vibrant green. Yeah, lemon lime twist. And then my granny apple green. And these are the greens that I want to use. Hey Mum! These are the greens that I want to use for my foliage. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use it in my notelet. I'm going to get my offcut of card. This is just one of my scraps. I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to create some garden green fluff. Let's just chop a piece of this off, make this easier. This is a really good thing to use if you've got any bits of card that ended up getting all crumpled or are torn, that you wouldn't use them on an actual card, but because you're a crafter and crafters never throw anything out, you've still got them, you don't know what you're going to do with them. This is a good way to start using that stuff up. So you're basically creating your own paper fluff. Don't worry about whether you've got bits of different sizes. That's okay, because you're going to have leaves of different sizes. I'm going to try and make sure it all stays in this bit though. It's also very therapeutic. Feels almost like you're destroying something, which can be quite fun, depending on the week you've had and the sort of day you've had and the people you've had to interact with. I have been in London for the last few days, and the London Underground is a very interesting place. And people in London are very interesting people. I much prefer the people in Scotland, I think. Although that's unfair, there are some lovely people in London too, but it's a bit intense sometimes. So let's put a bit more here. Has anybody ever tried this technique before? Are you looking at me thinking, that's it, she has finally gone nuts? Why is she destroying bits of cardstock? Or maybe you have seen it and you're like, oh yeah, I know all about this. We've been doing this for years. This is nothing new, Emma. It is important not to sneeze, or else all your fluff is going to go everywhere. Right, now that I've done my garden green, I'm going to move on to my granny apple green, because I want a mix of greens. I want them to be different shades, because I want this tree to have a variety of colours. And the reasons that I chose these colours, so the granny apple green is it's going to be the darkest green that I want to do, but I want this to be a spring tree. So that's why I thought garden green, granny apple green and lemon lime twist, so that you get that, it's almost like new leaves, the new buds that are opening up. Pull these bits off. remember seeing this technique years and years ago. We used to have a stamp set called Loveliest Tree, and it was one of the first, it was one of the longest running stamp sets that we had in the UK and in Europe. It retired a few years ago, but still a beautiful and very, very popular stamp set. If you're lucky enough to get a retired one. Here's one I prepared earlier. That would have been a good move, and maybe I should have done that. But I've never been a kind of preparing things earlier kind of gal, I'm afraid. So, on to the last colour now though. So we're only going to do 3 colours on this card. And this is me adding in my lemon lime twist. I think we shall leave it at that for just now. Picking up all these last little fibres. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, using Tombow, I am going to cover my tree with just a very thin layer of glue. And then we're going to use this fluff. And we're just going to press it on and then spread it out. Spread it out as you can, because you do want to see some of the branches through the edges. Some of that. Some of the bits aren't, well, there's a couple of bits that aren't really sticking down, so let's just brush off the excess, and then we'll put a little bit more glue onto the gaps where we want a bit more leaves. So I think we need a little bit more in there, tiny touch more there, and just around the edges. So let's stick them down. It's best if it sticks to the tree and not your fingers. There we go. Right. So now we have our tree with all of our leaf, all of our paper fluff that we've created. So next, what I wanted to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just layer this onto a piece of early espresso. I'm going to put it onto my notelet, but I do want the ribbon to be at the bottom. So does anybody have any thoughts on whether the ribbon should be spotty side up or plain side up. Kind of feeling the spots, you know. Let me know what you think. Spots, yes or no. So either say yes spots or no spots in the comments. Let me know what you think. While you're doing that, I'm going to get a sentiment done. So I'm going to use a piece of basic white. Spotty side up. And let's my garden green. For this one, I think we're going to make this a thank you card. So let's use my thank you stamp. It's a lovely font on this one. Oh, all the fonts in this stamp set are lovely. So have another block for the sentiment. That's my sentiment done in garden green. And then so this tag punch, I'm basically going to adjust the punch for the shape that I want. Okay, so I've punched it out with that bit on the side, but now I want to do the same on the other side. So what I'm going to do is just use a tiny little bit of glue and attach this here, and then I can line it up and have it where I want it to be. So I want it to be about here. There we go. And then I think I might actually just trim off the bottom. I was going to do it with the punch again, but I think it would actually look nicer straight. So let's just put this on the bottom slightly lower down. There we go. So I've just got a little tag shape there, and then I'm going to use the early espresso. Just take that little piece back off back. I'm just going to push this into the ink pad. I do it carefully so I don't get ink smudging everywhere. There we go. So what's the votes? Sorry Debbie, I think you're outvoted on the spots front tonight. So let's get my tear tape. Tear tape's always the best to use with ribbon. Just gonna put a little bit in the center, just to hold it in place where I want it to be. And then let's tear it off at the back. Tape it off at the back, not tear it off. Crazy person, Emma. Tombow. Onto here. Now, because this is quite 3D, once I've got it roughly where I want it to be, I'm then going to turn it over and rub it from the reverse, because then I won't risk rubbing away any of the pieces that I've put. And then finish off, let's put on to Notelet. Same as before, turn it over. And then my sentiment, and I've got some foam pads. Stick this on and have it, I think we'll just put it over in the centre. The centre's actually quite nice. There we go. And there is our finished card. What do you think? Do you like this technique? I hope so, because I'm about to do it again. So, having just done it with the greens, I'm going to again use my Notelet and get my scissors, but this time I'm going to have a little bit of my granny apple green fluff. Let's tear that big chunk off. And can you guess what I'm going to do next? So, same principle. We've got another tree to do. Some of those ragged edges off, cut some of that fluff. Do I mean dimensionals? Yes, what did I call them? Foam pads? They are foam dimensionals, but they are foam pads at the end of the day. So I want just a very little amount of the green. Then I'm going to use some white. Really hard not to sneeze. There we go. Next, so we've got green and we've got white. Next one I want to do is my pretty and pink. So who knows what kind of tree we're doing this time? With pinks to look like cherry blossom. That's exactly what I'm doing, Karen. I know the tree shape is probably not your traditional cherry blossom tree, but I thought we're going to give it a try anyway. I love cherry blossoms. I have a cherry tree in our garden. We have a cherry tree in our garden. And at that time in spring, when it's all pink and beautiful, I just love it. It's really, really gorgeous. Try to cut off some of this fluff so that we get it. But if you ever look at the cherry blossom trees, there's pinks, but they do have little bits of white and green poking through. So that's why I wanted to have the granny apple green and the basic white as well, not just pink. And the pink I'm using here is Pretty in Pink, but I have a little bit of Berry Burst that I'm going to add in as well. I was looking through all the different pinks because we do have lots of different ones. Oh, and that reminds me, the lovely Lynn is, and I don't know if Lynn's on tonight. I know sometimes she watches on Catch Up or on YouTube. Oh, and by the way, hello to everybody who's watching on YouTube and hello to everyone who's watching on Catch Up. I'm very glad that you're here. Very glad that you're watching. She wanted to know about our different pinks that we've got within Stampin' Up. So those are in the post to you, Lynn. But when I was looking through our different pinks, I thought, what would be best for cherry blossoms? And I think the Pretty in Pink is a good starting point. But I wanted to have a darker pink in as well. I think most of the pink I want it to be Pretty in Pink, the paler pink, just with highlights of green, highlights of white, and highlights of, I'm pretty sure this is Berry Burst. So I do want it to be mostly pink with just little tinges of the other colours put in. That's why I'm making sure I get all of this. Let's do a little bit of Berry Burst. When it comes to cherry blossoms, you do get them in different shades, don't you? You get the really pale pink one, you get the deeper pink. I suppose cherry pink is a colour in its own red, in its own right. Although it's more cherry red, isn't it? Because it's to do with the cherries themselves rather than the blossoms. Pick up all these bits of fluff. I should have used a larger card to capture it. It's also getting all over my fingers, so right, let's use my Tombow. This on. Distribute it so that it hopefully gets even. I might take that's like a big clump of green. I might take that off. Or do you want it to be more pink than green? Pink bits are all sticking to my fingers. There we go. There we go. So let's again have my ribbon on the bottom. I actually wonder, instead of doing a early espresso background, let's do a crumb cake background to match the ribbon. You can tell me if you think this looks better. So 3 1/4 by 4 3/4 is our layer. Tell me what you think. So we've got this one here with the early espresso, and then this one here with the crumb cake. What do you think? Or does it need a green background? Let's try it with Granny Apple Green. Open to all suggestions and ideas here, guys. If you think a particular layer would look good. Ooh, use the pink as a layer. That is actually a very good idea. Let's just try it with the green very quickly. So you can see, this is where we're at the moment. We've got the early espresso one there. That's the crumb cake one. Then let's try it with Granny Apple Green. You see that's pretty as well. And let's just get pretty in pink, see what that's going to look like. What do we think? So the pink is pretty. The green, I think. Oh, you don't think the green works? I thought the green looked nice. Not the green. Back to the crumb cake then. We do seem to have a few votes for crumb cake. Now we've got a vote for pink as well. So that's the crumb cake version. Let's try the pink version. At the moment it's 2 to 1, crumb cake to pink. Does anybody in the crumb cake camp want to change their vote? That's 3 to 1 for crumb cake. I'm afraid crumb cake gets it. And nice to see you, Jean. I don't think I said hi to you earlier. Where's my tear tape gone? It's here somewhere. There we go. Putting stuff on the floor. That's the good thing about these lives, Jean, is that they're always available on repeat. You can watch them on my page on Facebook, or you can watch them on YouTube. So if you ever want to go back and see how it's done, always available. Let's tear these off at the back. The tree stamp itself, it's a lovely stamp. It's a timeless stamp. Just having that sort of tree on a card I think is really pretty, is really beautiful. But if you want to do something a bit different, and As I say, I do like to show different techniques and different ideas, as well as showing off different products. Then this is a really fun one, and it's a good way of using up, as I say, any of those scrap bits of card that you haven't been able to make yourself throw out, but you also don't want to put them on a proper card. So let's line that up, press it down, rub it on the reverse so I don't rub off all my bits of fluff, and then more tumble. Put it on my layer. Now, just so you know, I've got a bit of just a couple of little marks there. I'm not sure if it's glue or if it's ink. I'm just going to take a rubber to those and just rub them off. A rubber will 9 times out of 10 get rid of these sort of marks. There we go. Just tidies that up, makes it a little neater. And let's do the sentiment again. So the last time I did it in green, and I didn't claim my stamp. I might do it in green as well, just to. Well, let's just do it in green. Let's do the same sentiment. Let's do another thank you. I'm wondering if there's a different label punch to use. Do you know what? That's fine. Do the same as I did before. Or would it actually fit this way? Let's try and do it. It's being a wee bit different. Nothing wrong with experimenting. Let's just trim that off. And then the same as before. Do you know what? Because this has got a lot of rounded edges, rather than do it with the pads, I'm just going to do it with a pen. So it gives me slightly more control. Just going round these kind of little tag inlet bits. Of course, the other thing I could use is a dauber. That would be even better again. But that would involve me finding my daubers. Where's my pen with right hand? Let's get my foam dimensionals. Autumn leaves would look lovely too. You're absolutely right, Mum. I think if I did these in kind of reds, so my Cajun craze, my real red, even a bit of pumpkin pie, I think that could look gorgeous. There we go. Those are our 2 cards done for this evening. Do you have a preference? Do you like the spring greens? Do you like the cherry blossoms? Do you like them both? Have you ever tried this technique before? Do you think you'll give it a try now? Let me know what you think. And as always, if you do make any of these cards, please do share those creations with me. You know I love to see what you make. Right, so that is us for this evening. Let me turn off Blackpool illumination so I can see you properly. There we go. Right, thank you very much for joining me this evening. I know it wasn't the unboxing that I promised, but as I said at the start, my order is due to arrive tomorrow, so I will have all of those goodies to show you next week. For those who I'm seeing at the weekend, I'm very much looking forward to it. We're going to have a great time. And for everybody else, I will see you next Wednesday. Have a really good week. Keep crafting.